Hello, in this lesson we are going to look at another amazing use of blockchain, and that is in the retail sector. So whether you're buying clothes or TVs or anything, doesn't matter whether it's a physical store, a brick and mortar store, or online, because all of these systems, all of these different types of stores, these vendors, they generally are connected to the internet and they track stuff digitally and via the internet. So they are primed for blockchain implementation. The first thing I'm going to cover is a concept. This is an amazing concept called the supply chain ledger. And if you don't know what a ledger is, it's basically a database that blockchain uses. Got a video on that, so feel free to go and check that out. Actually, I don't like that. I'm going to put a rectangle around this. And now let's cover the different aspects of a blockchain ledger. So at its core, it allows you to track where products are. So in 2 words, it's an audit trail. Audit trails go beyond just accounting. They're just a way of tracking everything and where everything has been and how it has come to being in that location, whether it's digital or physical. And on top of that, it allows you to track the materials that go into the product. So we can have the where they came from. So where did the material where they came from? So that includes, let's use a different color. That includes stuff like the country. It includes the company responsible for potentially mining it or processing it, and it includes the people potentially as well, and any other sort of, actually it can also include the sort of the distribution. So how that was actually, how, let's say, so if it came from this country, how did it go from this country to this company, then eventually how did it come into being into this particular product. So that's where it came from. You can also check where they went before going into the product. So maybe it was a material, so maybe the material was used in another product, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, obviously depending on the material, on the product, and let's say what you're paying for it and what it is, that may not be an issue, but it may. So to be able to see that and truly know that the materials that have gone into, I don't know, a drug or a food item or your phone, for example, is original or it is actually brand new, that is a very, very cool concept. And if it is used, how has it been used? Has it been used in 20 different devices? So if it's a phone, for example, maybe it's a screen that's used in there. Again, that's okay, but how do you know that he hasn't been in 10 other phones that have been in, let's say, 20 different countries with different climates and in all these different environments? So that might actually change what you think about buying it. So actually, just instances it's appeared in. And also the different device types. So maybe somebody's tried to put it in a phone that wasn't valid or just what was known not to fully support that screen. And as a result, you're thinking, nah, I don't want this phone because it's got this use component that I think has essentially been either tampered with or it's just not being used very well. So you can also track who made each part. So just briefly touched on that at the top. So if we have so this is a phone, this is the screen on it. So from that we might have the screen, We might have a mic, camera, storage, battery, and let's just say a phone has just this. Obviously we'll probably need other components as well, but like the main board, logic board, motherboard, whatever you want to call it. But let's just say it has this. So we can track who made this part. And on top of that, we can keep going down this audit trail. So the screen isn't going to be just found, in the ground and we're going to dig it up unless we're at some sort of landfill. So what was the screen made out of? What was the mic made out of? And it doesn't have to be 3 items. It could be 1, it could be 2, it could be 1,000,000. And what was that made out of? What was that made out of? You can see where we're going with this. What was that made out of? What was that made out of? And let's say we eventually get to the point where we find this is where it was originally mined from the ground, and you can see the actual route that has gone down, and this would also include any devices that it's been used in the past. So that is an amazing sort of prospect of tracking who made each part. So overall it confirms the quality of the product, because you know where it's been, you know what went into it, who made that, who transported it, how those materials were made, and essentially the same questions regarding those products as well. It also helps reduce counterfeiting, because we can see where all the products have gone in a device, so we can see, oh, this isn't actually a legitimate product, or the overall phone might for the most part be, but this one core component isn't, and the fake component they've used maybe has a shorter lifespan than the average one used in the real one. This can help reduce lost goods because you can track it at all stages, and that's the same with materials, or whether you're a customer and just buying the phone, regardless of what stage you're at, whether you're in production, in the mining, in the distribution, in the actual just the consumer side of it, you can reduce lost goods. And overall it also has environmental transparency, so you can see what country was involved, what materials, where the materials came from. Maybe it was wood and it's from an endangered rainforest, or it's skin of an animal and it's of an endangered species, and otherwise you would not have known that, and that might actually change the way you perceive the item, or the way you, even if you're going to buy the item. So that is the supply chain ledger. So that's a cool concept, but there's more to the retail uses of blockchain. So imagine food. So food, drink. So when I'm saying food, I'm just saying consumables in general. So like food, drink, pizza, whatever. So you can obviously track it as we've already discussed over here. We can track the ingredients that have gone into it, potentially track the machinery that was used to make it and the parts that went into that machinery. So it's crazy how much we could potentially be tracking. But beyond that, we could track, this is something that doesn't come to mind, but it's the temperature along the way. So maybe what you're consuming right now, or what you'll be eating, has actually gone all around the world, and it's gone from different countries, it's gone to different transportation methods, it's gone through different people, different companies, different storage facilities. So being able to see that the temperature along the way has been the right temperature, it will ensure the ingredients ingredients and product. So, because like I said, it's essentially the same sort of features when you're just going down the chain. So whether it's the product or the ingredients that made up the product, or those ingredients, and to make sure that they were stored in the right condition. So it actually goes beyond temperature as well. So maybe it's only good to be stored in a container that only has 5 other items in it. So you can see that as well. So it's just the actual storage conditions. So you can also, through tracking each part of it and the materials, so materials in food would be ingredients, for example, and the actual machinery that uses it, you can check where each ingredient has been for allergy checking. And that's a really powerful concept, because you see all the time, if you go into a supermarket, you pick a bag of something up, and even though it doesn't contain nuts, or like the actual product is a nut, it'll say may contain nuts, and that's because it's been in a facility that has had nut-based products in there. And as a result, just to make sure, and this I'm pretty positive they started putting it on labels. It's been on labels for a while now, but because there was a case where it wasn't mentioned, somebody had a really bad reaction, and as a result, they potentially got sued. But if you could fully check, not just if there was a nut, what potential nut was in that facility. So maybe you're only allergic to peanuts, for example, which is quite common, and you don't mind other nuts, and you check the facility of, let's say, a chocolate bar, and you see that it doesn't and never has had any peanuts in there, you're just like, yeah, I'm happy with that. Because even though it may contain nuts, it's going to be non-peanut based nuts. So you're happy with that. So it's great for allergy checking. So a recap. So overall, it saves time, and this is done by accelerating and automating transactions, and it removes costs and reduces overheads. These two are very closely linked. It helps reduce waste, reduces fraud and counterfeiting. All of this leads to increase trust. It's an increase in trust between parties, whether that's us as a consumer and, let's say, Walmart or Amazon as a retailer, or the retailer and the people, or the company, the manufacturers of the item, and maybe the manufacturers of the item and the people who provided the actual goods, and then the transportation, and also us and those other parts as well, because we can see where it's been, how it's been handled, who's handled it. So it increases trust between all parties. It also provides accurate, or I should say more accurate, tracking of delivery of goods. This, for the most part, is actually pretty well done in the current system. It's one of those things that I'm always surprised by, that considering how, even though quite a lot of it is automated, but how much human involvement there is to shipping stuff, regardless of what it is, that it, for the most part, goes really smoothly, even during holidays. So like Christmas, for example, there used to be a time where it used to get really bad during the holidays. Now it's just a bit of a rush. You can just have delays, and you're generally secured as well. It also helps provide, I've just changed colour for honestly no apparent reason, proof of ownership. So you can see this person did actually truly own that phone, so they're not selling me a stolen phone. So that's a really cool thing as well, because I'm sure you've been somewhere or tried to buy something, maybe you've seen in a newspaper that somebody's selling a phone and it's like half the price that everyone else is selling it for. And you're thinking, am I getting a good deal? Or am I getting ripped off because there's something wrong with it? Or is it stolen? Obviously, if it's the former one, great, you definitely want it. If it's the latter two, you can definitely track it to do proof of ownership and potentially even find out if there's something wrong with it by tracking the actual components that have gone into it. So that's a pretty cool concept as well. And this will reduce, running out of room here, but almost done, reduce warranty disputes, because you can truly say, okay, this person actually did buy it, so it is theirs. It has been only, let's say, within this country, so maybe the product is only eligible for return or repair if it's only been stayed within the country that it was bought in, for example. So that is another cool thing, is you'll help reduce warranty disputes. So many companies have some sort of loyalty-based system, and you'll basically provide a more accurate way of tracking loyalty points. I just have two more points that I want to cover now. It can help eliminate receipts, because I'm sure you've been to a store, you've bought something, and they're like, make sure you keep that receipt, because otherwise, without that, we cannot return it. Even if the product is, let's say, if you go to Walmart and it's a Walmart product, they'll say, yeah, we can't have it at all unless you have the receipt. I'm not saying Walmart is like that. I'm just saying, Walmart as an example. So it'll help eliminate receipts, and you wouldn't need a receipt because you can track the item and say, okay, this actually has 6 months of warranty left. Its components have this X amount of warranty left. Because imagine just being able to type in the model number of a phone and just like a chart coming up of all the different components that went into it, all of the different warranty statuses of those components, who is actually responsible for those warranties, because even you as a consumer, you might not know, but I've even had to deal with companies like retailers that they don't truly know who should be handling the actual repair or the fixing of it. They're like, should we do it, or does the consumer have to send it to retailer? But with this, we all know for certain who should be handling it. And to celebrate us almost doing this, I will use a different color, this sort of pinky red color. And this can also help emerging markets. So emerging markets that don't have conventional payment systems, because there are countries around the world or places within a certain country, maybe a village, that doesn't have a bank system, that doesn't have a conventional money-based system, and it'll help them track it, it'll help them get hold of these items, because you'll find you'll go to these places that don't have certain basic levels of economics, but they have phones, and through 4G, 3G, or even 2G access, they have access to the internet as well. So it'll help emerging markets, and this is definitely going to be one of the crazy use cases that I think will help accelerate blockchain. Is you'll get markets that don't have much of a choice but to adopt it because they don't really have an alternative, and we as the rest of the world will see how amazing this implementation is, and will want to implement it, and it will already be done. There'll probably be some sort of startup in Africa or in India or in certain part of China, for example. And I think a lot of the blockchain innovation will occur from emerging markets. So that's it for the use cases of blockchain on retail. It's been a long video, I know. Feel free to ask any questions you may have. Go over the video again, check out all the different aspects of blockchain in the retail sector, the supply chain ledger, food, the overall benefits. And as usual, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next amazing blockchain video.